Millions of people wake up every single morning believing they are making careful, logical choices about their future, without realizing that one hidden pattern is quietly dismantling their peace of mind. You might have said it to yourself just a few hours ago, perhaps while staring at a difficult email or contemplating a major life move. We tell ourselves that we are just being cautious, but in reality, we are giving away our power before we even take the first step. When a big moment arrives, the mind naturally craves certainty, yet the way we seek that comfort often creates the very failure we fear. Today, we are going to uncover 7 silent patterns you must never do before making a big decision. I once knew someone who spent 6 months trying to decide whether to switch careers. Every night, she would stay up until 3 in the morning reading forums, asking 10 different friends for advice, and writing endlessly detailed pros and cons lists. When one friend gave her positive encouragement, she immediately sought out another person who would validate her hidden fears. She ignored every green light and fixated exclusively on the potential risks until she was completely paralyzed, and that endless searching slowly turned into a cage of her own making. Behavioral researchers often talk about confirmation bias. This is the subtle tendency of the brain to seek out information that proves our existing fears while ignoring evidence that supports our success. In daily life, this forces you into an exhausting cycle of endless research, where every new piece of information actually increases your anxiety rather than giving you clarity. A single compass is useful in a dark forest. Holding 7 different compasses at once only guarantees you will stand still. Instead of hunting for proof that you will fail, start looking for evidence that you are capable. Not seeking endless validation, but trusting your own quiet inner judgment. I once knew someone who refused to leave a deeply unfulfilling job simply because he had already dedicated 5 full years of his life to it. He would complain about the toxic culture every single weekend, yet he spent his evenings buying expensive new tools and training courses for that exact same role. He kept telling himself that quitting now would mean throwing away half a decade of hard work, so he stayed and sacrificed 3 more years of his life. And that stubborn loyalty slowly eroded his confidence and happiness. Psychologists often describe this as the sunk cost fallacy. The human mind naturally hates losing past investments, so it forces us to make painful future sacrifices just to justify resources we can never get back. In daily life, this keeps you trapped in dead-end relationships, bad investments, or draining careers purely out of fear that your past efforts will be wasted. A heavy anchor might have kept your ship safe during a past storm. Carrying that same anchor onto dry land will only crush your ability to walk forward. Instead of honoring what you have already lost, focus entirely on what you are choosing to lose next. Not clinging to the past, but protecting your future. I once knew someone who received a massive promotion offer at a leading company. Instead of celebrating the achievement, she immediately spent 3 days imagining every single catastrophic scenario that could possibly go wrong. She envisioned blanking during a crucial presentation, disappointing her team, and ultimately getting fired in front of everyone. She became so overwhelmed by these imagined nightmares that she turned down the life-changing offer before even stepping into the interview room. And those imaginary fears quietly robbed her of her true potential. Psychologists often describe this emotional trap as catastrophizing. The brain overreacts to the unknown by treating a hypothetical worst-case scenario as an absolute, guaranteed future reality. In daily life, this leads to chronic hesitation, sleepless nights, and the heartbreaking decision to walk away from amazing opportunities before giving yourself a fair chance to succeed. A dark shadow on the wall can look like a monster. Turning on the light reveals it was just a coat hanging on the door. Instead of reacting to frightening illusions, measure the real facts right in front of you. Not fearing the worst, but preparing for the best. If these quiet insights are helping you see your life with greater clarity, take a moment to subscribe to Silent Habits. Write this single promise in the comments below. I trust my choices. I once knew someone who always waited until he felt completely ready before making any significant shift in his life. He wanted to feel 100% confident before starting a new business. and he insisted on feeling zero anxiety before having an important conversation with his family. Because total calm never arrived, he spent years sitting on the sidelines, watching younger and far less prepared people build the exact life he deeply dreamed about having. And that endless waiting quietly turned his bright potential into deep regret. Behavioral researchers often refer to this internal delay as present bias and emotional reasoning. We mistakenly believe that our current emotional state must match the magnitude of our goal before we are allowed to act. In daily life, this creates perpetual procrastination, convincing you to wait for a perfect mood that will simply never arrive on its own. An engine does not need to feel warm before you turn the key. The simple motion of driving is what generates the heat. Instead of waiting for confidence to arrive first, let your small actions build your courage over time. Not waiting for absolute certainty, but stepping forward through the mist. I once knew someone who consulted her entire family and circle of friends before deciding where to move. She asked her mother, her co-workers, and even distant acquaintances for their personal opinions on her life choices. Every time someone voiced a doubt or expressed a preference, she completely changed her original plan to make them happy. In the end, she moved to a city she disliked, living a life designed by committee rather than by her own heart, and that constant pleasing quietly silenced her genuine inner voice. Psychologists often describe this pattern as external locus of control. The mind yields its power to outside opinions, assuming others know what is best for us, better than we know ourselves. In daily life, this results in living a life meant for someone else, leaving you feeling hollow, resentful, and completely disconnected from your own authentic truth. Wearing someone else's shoes might protect your feet from the cold floor. Walking 10 miles in them will give you painful blisters. Instead of gathering votes from the crowd, listen deeply to your own quiet wisdom. Not living for others, but honoring your own path. I once knew someone who believed that making a big decision meant making a permanent, irreversible choice. When he was considering buying his first house, he convinced himself that a single mistake would ruin his entire financial life forever. He spent endless nights obsessing over 30-year mortgage details, convincing himself that once he signed the paper, his freedom would be completely gone. This extreme pressure caused him so much distress that he cancelled the purchase at the last possible minute, and that heavy pressure turned a joyful milestone into a terrifying prison. Behavioral researchers often discuss how all-or-nothing thinking creates extreme cognitive dissonance. The brain perceives a flexible, adaptable decision as a permanent trap, causing immense stress and emotional paralysis. In daily life, this makes every crossroad feel like a cliff edge, ignoring the simple reality that most choices in life can be adjusted, repaired, or redirected down the road. A road sign is not an iron cage that locks you in place. It is simply a gentle suggestion on a long, winding journey. Instead of viewing every choice as a final destination, treat it as a single experimental step, not fearing permanent traps, but embracing continuous adaptation. I once knew someone who was forced to make a major life decision during one of the most exhausting weeks of his entire career. He was working 14-hour days, barely sleeping 4 hours a night, and relying on endless cups of coffee just to stay awake. In a moment of sheer physical and emotional burnout, he impulsively resigned from his job and sent a burning email to his manager that he regretted 5 minutes later, and that single exhausted moment completely shattered years of professional dedication. Psychologists often describe this vulnerable state as decision fatigue. When the brain is depleted of rest, sugar, and emotional bandwidth, its ability to weigh long-term consequences completely collapses. In daily life, making choices when you are hungry, angry, lonely, or tired leads to impulsive regrets, broken bridges, and self-sabotage that could easily be avoided with a good night of rest. Making a critical decision on an empty tank will never take you far. It will only guarantee that you break down on the side of the road. Before you make any move, stop and restore your soul first. Instead of acting out of immediate exhaustion, give yourself the precious gift of deep rest. Not deciding in the dark storm, but choosing in the quiet light. Replace seeking endless validation with trusting your own quiet inner judgment. Replace clinging to the past with protecting your future. Replace fearing the worst with preparing for the best. Replace waiting for absolute certainty with stepping forward through the mist. Replace living for others with honoring your own path. Replace fearing permanent traps with embracing continuous adaptation. Replace deciding in the dark storm with choosing in the quiet light. Remember to write "I trust my choices" in the comments below to lock in this commitment to yourself. Share this message with someone who might be standing at a difficult crossroad right now, and subscribe to Silent Habits for more quiet wisdom. May you find peace in every step you take today.